If you're renovating or investing in property in 2026, some decisions will quietly make you money and others will destroy your return. Most people are getting this wrong.
We're seeing people overspend on the wrong things while missing design decisions that actually add value.
So today, we're breaking down what's worth investing in this year and what definitely isn't. Welcome to Milesh Sadie Property Talks, where smart investments meet beautiful spaces.
Each episode, we combine strategy and design so you can avoid making expensive mistakes.
This is episode 1 of series 2, Renovating and Investing in 2026.
Welcome back. Exciting. Woo!
So, what are we going to cover?
Yeah. So first up, we're going to discuss areas that we think are worth investing in.
And then we're going to follow up with what's not worth investing in.
Yeah.
So, shall I go?
Yeah, you kick us off.
So I think for me, there's a few things here. Having a clear exit strategy and more than one is really important. Know your knowledge and experience level to know what you're investing in, so you don't overstep or overshoot the mark.
Yeah.
Because experience is absolutely critical to your success. Borrowing is big at the moment. So conservative borrowing, square peg round hole comes to mind when you're doing your numbers, and knowing what your end buyer looks like, what they want, what they need. So they're the key ones for me.
Okay. And when you say like looking at your exit strategies, what sort of options are there?
So we always say have a minimum of 2 exit strategies. Okay. So if you're looking to flip a property, that's your primary exit.
Yeah.
Secondary exit, you would just double check to see that if you had to rent it out and refinance it because the market went in a position where you can't afford to sell it, then just make sure that if as a bare minimum, you're not losing any money. So as long as the rental covers your costs, then that's a good secondary exit to have.
Okay. Interesting. Good to know.
Yeah. I think that people don't do that well enough and end up in a position where you have to refinance. Maybe you're not able to get 75%. You can get 65% or 70%. That might swing it as to whether or not it's worth keeping or not. If the market's not going in your favor, then would you rather take a 50k hit on your sale price or just refinance it for a couple of years until things even out a little bit?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think you're right. I think people can get quite sort of stuck on the idea that they've got, and actually the ability to pivot.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is around head versus heart, right?
Yeah.
We might be really, really keen to get a deal over the line, and you kind of forego some of the due diligence and could end up in a bit of a pickle. And I think with the way this year is, yes, there's a bit of stability in terms of what the rates are doing and everything else, but you still need to approach with caution.
It's a challenging market, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, stability is good. The budget was a big one. Decisions are now being made, like them or not, but at least there's an outcome.
Yeah.
So you've just got to tread with caution rather than go kind of gung-ho all out and have the certainty that you're going to make money, particularly on flips and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's a critical one. Experience levels, again, I think is pretty important in that, you know, for example, if you've done buy-to-lets, you might not want to jump straight into development, for example. Maybe just go up the ladder to HMO.
Okay.
Or service accommodation or something like that. Likewise, if you're looking to go into development, then would it suit you to find stuff that might have planning already versus not?
Yeah, I see.
Again, team dependent, depends who you've got around you, because that is really important as well. So it's quite a lot to consider, right?
Yeah. And is that 2026 specific that you think that people need to be a little bit like wary of the steps they take up that ladder?
I think as a baseline, that always needs to be there.
Okay.
But I think probably more so this year. Just know what you're walking into and be really kind of clever and calculated about it.
Yeah.
And you know, as much as we might not like it, we've got to paint those worst case scenarios right at the off.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's going to cost you time, cost you money, and it might kill your deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So can I do one of mine?
Yeah, of course you can.
Thank you so much. So the big thing, it's not a new thing, but I think it's even more valuable for 2026 is layouts are key. Everybody becomes fixated on finishes. And obviously, as an interior designer, I love a finish. But I think because of social media and sort of also AI, everybody watches so many reels of these incredible finishes that they forget actually the fundamental thing that people are hooked on are layouts, are spatial planning. When you walk into a space, you can feel it instantly. You know whether it's got a good flow. You know whether everything's laid out. You can feel if there's any wasted space. And because we're in a slightly challenging market, that really needs to be your prime focus when you're taking on a property. And that's the same if you're just a homeowner and you want to stay in that house for a few years, or if you're going to be flipping something. So I would say spatial planning is key, far more than expensive finishes. And actually don't get pulled into these kind of false images of what you're seeing online and think I need to spend big to see a return. That's not the case at all.
So how do you try and deliver that message to clients? Because as you say, there's so much information out there and visuals and designs and everything else.
Yeah.
But it is very focused on the finish rather than the layout of the space. How do you tackle that?
Well, it's the thing that we start with on our process journey. So we always sit down and we always say, until we have got the spatial planning down, we can't even start to think about the finishes. And actually the spatial planning will then influence the finishes that you're going to put in anyway. So we sit down, and if it's a private client, then it's obviously what they want from the home. But even if you are a home renovator, if you're only going to stay there a few years, you need to be really wary and really savvy on what is the demographic that's going to buy this home after you, because that's going to have a real influence on how you're going to carve up the space.
And that ties into my one around making sure that you know your end buyer.
Yeah.
So the two can work quite well together, and it's really important that that's the case.
It's really important. And actually, interestingly, I was talking to a friend over the weekend, and they've got a lovely flat in Shepherd's Bush with a huge bedroom, which is like 5 meters by 10 meters, which is just very big for a 2-bed duplex. And they were saying, they wanted to kind of carve up and put this separate space in for their second child. And they were really worried that it was going to damage its market value. But I was saying, actually, people want usable space. So having that second room within the room, if it's done properly, it's then seen as like, your own private office or a dressing room or even like a small gym. And people want as much usable space in their homes now than more than ever, because we're at home a lot more. We work from home. We often have a gym at home. So we really want it to do everything. We want it to work a lot harder.
You've obviously got an amazing house with a gym and office and studio.
That's the dream. But no, I mean, I tell you what, we're working on a project this year and we're putting a golf simulator in.
Wow.
Yeah, that's another level. But, for us everyday folk, even if we can get a home office in somewhere, that's a big pull. And I think when people are looking at buying property, even if it's a small property, if there's just an office hidden away that can then fold back away, that is a big buying pull. So keep all of those in mind.
So spatial planning and layouts over finishes.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it can be really easy to walk in and go, I don't want to spend money on changing this space around and taking down walls. But actually, just by spending even like a couple of £1,000, it can be worth far more than spending up to like 20,000 on finishes. Yeah. So you really see a lot more return in your investment.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing from an investment perspective.
Yeah.
The cost of adding a stud wall and some electrics and radiators and all that sort of stuff to make that a usable space versus a bigger room is going to probably pay, as long as you know who your end buyers are going to be and that there's a demand for it, right?
100%. Totally agree.
What else have you got? What else should we be investing in?
Okay. The other thing is, which is, it seems a little bit boring, but storage is everywhere. I get sent, I tell you not, reel after reel from clients of storage hacks. Like, how are they going to hide their robot Hoover in a cupboard? It is absolutely everywhere. 2026, it's going even more nuts. So it's now not impressive to just open a door and have some shelves. They now want to see how every tiny bit of a home is going to be stored. So I'm going to cover this a little bit more in detail in our next episode. But even things like, the pantry, or how are you going to store, your dressing room or your wardrobe, or how are you going to store all your gym equipment that you might keep at home? Anything like that. If you've got clever ways that when buyers come and they open cupboard doors and they look inside and they're like, wow, that again is a real selling point. It's something that's impressive and people are going nuts for.
Yeah, I hear you. I was literally thinking over the weekend, we just don't have enough space.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you want to bulk buy.
Yeah. Where are you going to put your big bags of rice?
Yeah, and it just feels like we're just running out of space.
Yeah. 100%.
So I hear you on that. Definitely.
And I think you're like, okay, well, in big houses, that's easy. Of course, you're going to have plenty of storage. But you can still put in some really clever hacks in your smaller flats. And it's those sorts of things, particularly when you've actually got less space, that's when people are really looking at how am I going to be able to store all my stuff.
Yeah.
So don't go cheap on that. That's another really impressive thing.
What's the best thing you've seen at the moment on storage?
There's so many, but I will say the thing that is really common is in the kitchen skirting board, they flap up and the robot hoover comes out.
Nice. I've seen that.
Yeah. And that's being used more and more. And now on some of my bigger projects, we have cupboards where on every floor, there's an area where it just slides back in and slides out again. So that's pretty cool. But the pantry cupboard is massive. People love a pantry cupboard or a whole pantry or a second kitchen. The higher up you go.
The robot hoover sounds cool though.
I know, the robot hoover.
So you just open up all the flaps in the morning before you go?
Well, no, they actually automate. They go up on their own.
Oh,
they
so
sense
you just press a
that
button and it comes up.
It comes up. It senses that the little robot wants to come out.
So whilst you're not whilst you're away,
it's going to hoover
the whole house.
Yeah.
How does it get upstairs?
Well, no, that's why I think it can, but that's why you have them on different levels.
Do you need one of them like
rails? Yeah, next to the staircase. That's what we'll be putting in next for the robot hoover to go up.
Not a chair for people.
No. It's all for the hoover, but maybe we'll have more robots. Maybe this is the way we're going and we'll have to work out storage for the different robots in our lives.
It's definitely where the world's going, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely. Right. We've done a couple.
Yeah.
Keep going. What you got?
Well, what have you got? I think I've done all the talking.
Yeah, you have.
Okay. What about, let's switch over. What are you not investing in?
Over customization. And I guess that links a little bit to what you're saying, what you said earlier about the layout over the finish over layout.
No, it's the other way around. It's good you were listening.
Yeah, layout over finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't do finish over layout.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Over customization, I think you're right. You've got to be so aware of your return on investment, haven't you?
Yeah.
And so don't get carried away. Don't watch reel after reel and go, but I just want to put in this beautiful finish or this incredible oak floor. If that isn't if that's not the demographic, that's not the area, if that's not the type of property that you're dealing with, you have to know all of those, I think. You have to know who is going to buy it next. You need to know the value that you're going to be able to make on the property and the area and the type of things people are looking for in that area. Because that stands quite strong, if you like. Buying a flat in Hackney versus a country pile in the Surrey Hills, it's very different how you're going to, lay it out and finish it.
Yeah, yeah. I think the other thing as well related is numbers and cost tracking.
Yeah.
And so we all know I love a bit of due diligence and all that, right? If you didn't know, then you need to listen to the episode. But I bang on about it before you go into a deal.
Yeah.
But what about whilst you're in the deal?
Yeah.
You've got to invest time in that. You don't do that, and then you could go really wrong with your costs and oversight, and having the right oversight and people in place to help you with that.
Yeah.
I think it's big.
100%. You need to know all your costs before you put a spade in the ground. It's boring. It's time consuming. If you don't want to do it, bring in the right professionals.
And monitor it during.
And monitor it. Yes,
that's 100%. The key one. Yeah.
You need to have a tracker that's going along with you. Definitely. And I think just don't overspec, don't overspend if you're not going to get that back. You have to really, the thing is, design is so emotive. And I think because of that, you can get really carried away, but actually you have to be the one that keeps your head strong. You want it to be emotive to the buyer, but you as the seller needs to stay in control.
Yeah. I think linked to that, don't invest in short trends.
Yes.
Because if you're in development, from when you get the offer accepted all the way through to it being ready to sell, trends might have changed, will have changed.
I totally agree.
So there's a piece around not going with the latest trend because it's just come out, because it might be out of date and something would have come in.
Yeah.
Versus getting the basics done really, really well, like layouts, for example, versus the finishes, because yes, the finishes is what people see, but if you're 2 years in from when that was out there as a trend,
the
landscape might have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you need to be really aware of lifestyle trends, how people are living, because that's really important in the layout. But the short-term trends, definitely not. Trends that are related to colors or patterns or finishes or whatever this Japandi, Scandi, whatever is out there right now, just ignore. Just do your research, work out what is your buyer or your renter going to want, and then maybe add a few surprises yourself, a few things that are going to impress someone. But my big thing also is because we're of the social media and AI, and we are just seeing so many reels or images, that we can be quite lazy in actually what we choose to put into our spaces.
Yeah. So what you think you want versus what you actually want.
Yeah.
And the influence that social media and images have over that, right?
Definitely. And I think that's why you can really easily overspend on something. And I'm not saying they're not there as a great, inspiration, but I think also don't be lazy, do your research and come up with your own thing.
So very quickly, just before we finish then.
Yeah.
So if I said to you, right, I've got this project, we've got the offer accepted, I don't care about finishes at this point because I know we're 2 years out before it's going to be ready.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother.
Let's do layouts. Is that something you would be happy with, or would you want an idea? And what's the latest point that throughout that 2-year period that you'd want to start talking about finishes?
Yeah, I would want to say layouts from the beginning, and then I would want hard finishes maybe a few months in, because they're going to go into like all the scope of work.
Like
and also
what?
It's things like your flooring and whether you're going to put in, I don't know, anything like paneling, but really your sanitary layouts, your kitchen layouts, and then your lighting, electrical and plumbing layouts all need to be done really early on.
Okay.
But whether you're going to paint a wall pink or red, or you're going to have an orange tile or a green tile, although I wouldn't say that any of those colors I'd go with.
They don't together.
I don't anyway, each their own. I don't think you would want to decide that then, because if you think it's a long-term project, then you can decide that right near the end.
How?
Well, I would say maybe
you've got to go and source it all as well.
Yeah, you have 6 months. So if you said, okay, this is the spec that we've got for the tiles, and this is the sort of size tiles that we want to go in, because that will have an impact on the cost, both not just the material, but also the labor, because obviously if they're bigger, they're easier to put in rather than lots of mosaics, etc. I would do that early on, but I would potentially say we're just not going to decide whether it's this kind of moody palette or we're going to go lighter until a bit closer. And then we can really see where are we on that. But even then, like you say, what if you end up with plan B and you end up renting it out for 2 years? So you want it to stay a bit more neutral in terms of what the trends are.
So oversight of the project timelines are really, really critical.
Yeah.
And liaising with you.
Yes, definitely.
That, yeah.
Oh, you have to, 100%.
Cool.
So anyway, that brings us to the end of this episode. So if you're planning a project this year and you are thinking that you're going to do a big renovation, you need to do this thought process before you spend any money at all.
So this whole series really is about better decisions before money gets spent, right?
Yeah. And next episode, we're going to be sharing our 2026 predictions.
Ooh. So thanks for listening. Subscribe, share this with somebody renovating, and comment with what you're planning.